folks, this is Calc 2, Checkpoint Quiz 5. We are given the population of Sasquatch, P, in the mythical region of Pennsylvania, T years after the year 2000, given by this equation. And then we're, part A, asked to find and interpret the quantity P of 0. Okay, so how do we find P of 0? This is good old-fashioned function notation. Everywhere we see a t in the expression P of t, we're going to substitute 0. So this is 50 divided by the quantity 1 plus 4e to the negative 5 times 0. So that's 50 divided by 1 plus 4e to the 0 power. Now e to the 0 power is 1. 1 times 4 is 4. 4 plus 1 is 5. So I get 50 divided by 5, which is 10. So that's the find part. Now we need the interpret part. So to interpret this, we note that t equals 0 corresponds to the year 2000. And the P of 0 is 10 corresponds to 10 Sasquatch. So putting this together, we can say in the year 2000, there are 10 Sasquatch in Pennsylvania. So that'll do it for part A. All right, in part B, we're asked to find and interpret the limit as t goes to infinity of P of t. So let's check this out. The limit as t goes to infinity of P of t is the limit as t goes to infinity of 50 divided by the quantity 1 plus 4e to the negative 5t. Now as t races off to infinity, negative 5t is heading to negative infinity. And since the base of the exponential here, e, is 2.718-ish, e to the negative 5t is headed to 0. So using property of limits, we get that this is equal to 50 divided by 1 plus 4 times 0, which works out to be 50. So that's the find part. Now it's time to do the interpret part. T represents the number of years since 2000. So t going off to infinity is talking about the end of time. So we'll interpret that as time goes by. The P of t, which represents the population of Sasquatch, is approaching 50. So as time goes by, the population of Sasquatch in Pennsylvania approaches 50. So that'll do it for part B. Okay, in part C we're asked when will the population reach 25? This is certainly a reasonable thing to ask because we know that in the year 2000 we had 10 Sasquatch, and we know that as time goes by the population approaches 50 Sasquatch. And since this is a continuous function, we can use intermediate value theorem to show that there is at least one point where the population is 25. So to figure this out, we set the population equal to 25 and solve for t. So we have 50 over 1 plus 4e to the negative 5t is 25. So the first thing we'll do is clear fractions, since we've got a t in the denominator there. So we'll multiply both sides by 1 plus 4e to the negative 5t. On the left-hand side, things simplify to 50. That quantity cancels out. On the right-hand side, I could multiply through the 25 at this point. But I noticed that 50 is a multiple of 25, so I'm just going to keep that factored out for now. And then get rid of it by dividing both sides by 25. So now I'm down to 2 equals 1 plus 4e to the negative 5t. So once again, I'm solving for t. I'm trying to get t by himself. So now I'll subtract the 1 off both sides to get the exponential piece by itself. And so I get 4e to the negative 5t is equal to 1. Now I'll divide both sides by 4. So I get e to the negative 5t is 1/4. And now that I have the exponential completely isolated, I can take the natural log of both sides. Now remember, the natural log of x and e to the x are inverse functions. So this operation undoes the exponential operation, and that just leaves me with negative 5t. That's natural log 1/4. And so for the grand finale, I can divide both sides by negative 5, and I get t equals the natural log of 1/4, or negative 1/5 rather, natural log of 1/4. Now we could clean this up a little bit. I can take the natural 1 up as an exponent on the 1/4 using properties of logs, and flip the 1/4 over into a 4. So I could write it a little bit nicer as natural log of 4 divided by 5. Okay, so even though that's the correct mathematical answer, what we'd want to do is approximate that using a calculator to get some sort of meaningful response. Alright, so we know that t is the natural log of 4 over 5, which if you use a calculator is roughly 0.0277. Now since this represents the number of years since 2000, we can multiply that by 12, and that gives us 3.3 months. Okay, so when will the Sasquatch population in Pennsylvania reach 25? Well, the exact answer is natural log of 4 over 5 years after the year 2000, which is approximately 3 1/3 months. So 3 months, 10 days after 2000. That'll do it for part C.